the prophetic imagination. And it says in this book, the task of a prophet is to imagine alternative things. To imagine the world differently from the natural. To imagine the world differently from the common, the norm, and the status quo. Voltaire challenges the prophet to be intentional and convicted in their prophetic ministry, because prophetic imagination ought to imagine the impossible and explore the unachievable. He suggests in this book that the role of prophetic imagination is to bring God's people to the point where they engage the promise of newness that is at work in our history. To imagine possibilities of a society that is different from the current society. A society that accommodates all people equally. To imagine a society that is inclusive to all people. A society that ignores the issues of gender, race, age, power, and privilege. A world where people are free to wake up in the morning and be excited about what opportunities lie in that day, and not be threatened by their gender or their age or the color of their skin. It is important, I want to believe, sir, to think of what Brueggemann says alongside Martin Luther King Jr. as they agree when they say, in thinking of the future, Martin Luther King says, I have a dream. And in this dream, all racial barriers are broken down. My black child can sit in the same class with a white child and enjoy the privileges of education, and gather and live in harmony. A dream of an alternative society that would enable a transformation of human life, but most importantly, a transformation of human mind. Where, when we look at each other, all we see is the image of God that is alive in all of us, ensuring equal share in what God has made and created. The need for prophetic imagination ties very well with the idea that suggests that God is busy with the construction of a society that recognizes and acknowledges that when it has failed in what it is called to do, it remains resolute and consciously seek to empower itself to self-correct. And as it self-corrects, it is able to march and protect, to march against itself.
Hey.
As it recognizes the hurt, the pain that it has caused to itself, to others, and to God. And how it has hurt and pained those it has victimized. And as it realizes that it has victimized itself, it is able to rise up and say to itself, broken as I am, I realize how I've broken others. And I stand against myself. Whilst I bow down before God, I rise up as a human being, as a forgiven somebody, and I am able to march and say, broken as I am, I realize I've also broken. And in doing that, find ways to restore human dignity and preserve human life. It is the role of prophetic imagination to explore newer ways to express faith even within a broken society. A society that is so fragmented, a society that is out of touch with its own reality and its own history. It is Father Lilokoe who writes in his book, Tears of Hope. He says, as he writes during the apartheid era, our poor country is bleeding and is hurting. The spotlight is on us because of the brutality of apartheid system and the sovereignty of our people. Allow me, my brothers and sisters, to say to you this morning, today, our church, the Methodist Church of Southern Africa, the body of Christ, is bleeding and it is hurting. The spotlight is on us today because of what we have done to each other. It is like those, I don't know, if you have seen a rainbow after it has rained. I don't know if you have seen a rainbow up in the sky. The beauty of a rainbow after the rain. I don't know if you have seen, well, we have not seen a rainbow in quite a while.
Yes, that's the vision.
We hope that the rainbow will come soon. But I don't know if you can imagine with me for a second where we are as a church. That beautiful rainbow in the sky, those beautiful colors in the sky. Imagine where the church is today and see those beautiful rainbows spreading and separating from each other. And the rainbow no more being there. That is where we are as a church today. We have failed to protect each other. And because of that failure, the beauty of God that is found in us is separating itself from all of us. Because we have failed to look after each other. Father Lilokoe continues to speak as a prophet would. And he says, the clouds are gathering, the storms are coming, and the storms are not coming to us because we have failed to care for one another. And when the storm comes, it destroys everything. Yes, it is. So let me tell you, the storms, the clouds that brings the storm are busy gathering.
Yo.
And as the storms, as the clouds are busy gathering, let me ask the question that the president asks each day. Is your heart right with my heart? And my heart is right with your heart. And if it is, take my hand. This is not just a question about friendship and fellowship. It is not a question of curiosity, but rather it is an intentional question. A question that seeks to understand your mindset. When as a person, it is asked by a person who sings a song deep in their heart. When they say, there is a race that I must run. There are victories to won. Give me power every hour to be true. And so the question asks, is your hand available to me every time you face? That the writer of Hebrew tells us about when he says, in the morning, when you wake up, run the race with perseverance. The book of the Hebrews that we have read this morning brings forth the story about Christ, who is before history, who is in history, who is above history, who is the goal of history, and who is the agent that brings forth our natural history. It is a book that reminds us of the journey of God's faithful people, who in their journey of life, faced with many challenges and troubling times, they remained true to their calling. It is a book that tells us about people who, when they were faced with the pleasures and the toils of this life, remained resolute in their faith. It is people who said, I'm not going to go tell my
Aye.
in the economy. But Babylon Sifil, Selin, Hakiri, Paroya Han, Uriche, Utaken. When I say, gracious God, that God is
Hey.
there is no way I can go through. God says, what is impossible to man is not impossible to you. The writer of Hebrews tells us in chapter 12:11 of God's people who died in faith, who trusted in God when it seemed impossible to believe. People who knew that without God they were nothing. Tells us of people who worship God truthfully, faithfully, and trusted in God, who depended on God, who loved God, and who feared God. Our biggest challenge as God's people today is that whilst we love God, we have stopped fearing God. Otherwise, if we feared God, we would not do what we have done to each other. So the writer encourages his readers that there is a race that they must run. There are victories that they should win. A race that is set out before them. A race that will not be easy. And I want to say to those who have been inducted in positions of leadership today, the journey is never going to be easy. But it is a race that is set out before you, so run it faithfully so. At times, it will seem impossible and difficult. At best, you will want to give up. and the race will be too demanding. But the God who calls you, the God who holds your hand, will bring men and women of God who will journey with you as you run this race. The author acknowledges, saying that there are times in the race when the race will be impossible, when it will be an uphill battle, when everything will fall apart and seem impossible to put back together. But even in that, there is hope. There is hope for tomorrow. We are reminded in this book of our forefathers who, in their history, learned to bow down before God and faithfully serve God and God alone. For God says in the book of Exodus, I am a jealous God. Have no other God besides me. Be careful, my dear mothers and fathers, my dear brothers and sisters, in the construct of our own history, be careful of the gods we worship. The life has reminded us. He tells us, he teaches us. Those who have died in faith, that is written off in chapter 11. Whilst they are no longer with us, they are now a cloud of witnesses that hangs above us. That cheers us on in the journey of faith. When we get tired and we want to give up. Who is that? Is it in Galatians where it says, as I said, having died in faith, whilst we see them no more, they continue to look at us as we run the race. And when we want to give up, they say to us, keep on keeping on. So I ask, is your heart right with my heart? As my heart is right with your heart. And if that is the case, take my hand. This life that we live, we will never agree on everything. Actually, when we agree on everything, let me say to you, that is a pretentious relationship. When we agree on everything, I want to say to you, somebody is lying to somebody. Because it is virtually impossible that we can agree on everything. Because we are independent human beings with independent minds. And so we ought to celebrate the difference of mind. Because when we agree on everything, somebody is compromising the truth. But even in that, even in our differences, we find ways in our diversity to celebrate our humanness, different as we are. And so it is very important that in our diversity and in our differences, we retain a sense of bond and relationship with one another, where we are able to be honest with each other, where we are able to protect each other, not from what we do, but from the evil of the world. Where you and I can be able to seek justice for those who are victimized. Paul reminds us that we are all part parts of one body. And for the body cannot function at its primal capacity if one part of the body is not well, is not functioning. And when one part of the body is not functioning, the body struggles to function at its full capacity. And so, when one of us is hurting, is broken, is victimized, then it cannot be business as usual.
Yeah.
If indeed your heart is right with my heart, then we should be able to say together, nobody in the church of God, nobody, not in our time, not in our name, not in our church, not in our society, not in our country, not in our family, will anybody be victimized. We ought, if we are true in saying my heart is right with yours, and I will give you my hand, then we ought to be honest with one another. And as we together imagine a world free of evil, hardship, pain, and sorrow, a world free of harassment, abuse, and hatred, give me your hand. Let me hold on to your hands, and we do together what Martin Luther King does as he dreams of a new world. And when we dream together, then our children will walk in the streets of Kayelitsha without fearing victimization, harassment, and without fearing abuse and pain. Give me your hand. Give me your hand. As we run this race together with perseverance, give me your hand so that we may together transform and change the narrative, so that together we can hear the call and respond to what God calls us, a restored communion with God Himself, with His people and His creation. Give me your hand. Give me your hand. So that when I fall along the way, you may lift me up. Give me your hand. So that when I get tired, you will hold on to me and walk with me. Give me your hand. So that when I die of hunger, you may give me a slice of bread. Give me your hand. So that when my life is broken, you can put me back together. Give me your hand. If your heart is right with me, give me your hand. Give me your hand. So that when you fall down and everything in your life collapses, when everything in your life fails to be, we can together sing a song that is written by Bill Withers in the 1980s, when he says, sometimes in our lives we all have pains, we all have sorrows, but if we are wise, we know that there is always tomorrow. He continues to say, lean on me. When you are not strong, I will be your friend. When you are not strong, I will help you carry on. When you are not strong, I will be there for you. For it will not be long till I myself is going to need somebody to be now.
Hey, press.
And so, give me your hand. Evan, I don't know if there is anybody here who has ever But when I look at the people seated here, yes, they are in charge of it. When I look here, I am confident that none of you, none of us has attempted to run Comrade Marathon. If you have run Comrade Marathon, stand up.
Hi, man. Agamba kuyo. Sayibaleka kunye.
I don't know. If you have never taken time to watch Comrade Marathon. Something very interesting with Comrade Marathon. There are two types of people who enter the race. There are those who enter the race to win it. And there are those who enter the race for the comradeship part of it. I love people who enter Comrade Marathon not to win it. Because those are the people that when they hit power of 50 kilometers, 60 kilometers, and they are running the race, and there are people along the journey who know that 30 kilometers to go, and I will reach the finish line. But now they are tired, and their legs will not carry them. The people who enter the Comrade Marathon not to win it, when they come across people who get tired along the way, they don't just pass them on the way. They say to them, give me your hand, let us finish the race together. Those are the people I love. Because they know, they understand that nobody should be left behind. And so they say, give me your hand and let me run. So my friends, my brothers and sisters, if your heart is right with me, give me your hand and let us run the race together. However, always be careful of who you give your hand to. The president is very clear. If your heart is right with my heart, and my heart is right with your heart, then give me your hand. If your heart is not right with my heart, don't give me your hand. Because if your heart is not right with my heart, we will not be able to get to the end of the journey. Rather, before we hold each other's hands, let us sit down and talk and resolve whatever makes your heart not to be right with my heart. Don't just refuse with your hand. Say to the person, at the moment, I will not give you my hand because you have done this to me. Let us talk about that and resolve that first, so that when we get into the journey, we are on the same page. And nobody is having issues and feelings of hatred. Let me finish by saying, I don't know who writes this, but there's somebody who says, in life, there are 3 types of people. There are 3 types of people. And he uses the analogy of the tree. And he says, some people are beautiful like leaves during spring. When they are green and flowers are budding and blossoming, and they are beautiful, even from a distance. When you look at them, they are beautiful. And he says, the writer of this analogy, after some time, when the winter comes, they are colored and they fall down from the tree and we trample on them. Be careful of being attracted by the beauty of the fruit from the outside, not knowing what is inside.
Ay, man. Yeah.
He says, leaves, they fall, they wither, they dry up, and they die. Chaos is a temporary existence. There are those people in our lives whose time in our life is temporary. Be careful of investing all in the leaves. And it says, the second type of a person, branches. They seem strong. They seem strong. They seem strong. They hold the beauty of the leaves. They seem strong. But be careful. Because sometimes when you step on them, they have a tendency to just break. He does not say, do not have friends like branches. He says, they are important, those people. But